In a world filled with endless subscription services, you need to have something truly special to stand out and get yourself that sweet, sweet monthly bacon. However, today we are looking at a product that offers none of that, yet still manages to have everyone pay for it. Nintendo Switch Online. Hey everyone, I'm RVRocks and happy Halloween! Today we are talking about the scariest thing of all, Nintendo discourse. Nintendo recently announced that it would be featuring both Sega Genesis and Nintendo 64 games on its online service, Nintendo Switch Online, alongside NES classics and basically every SNES classic except for EarthBound. Naturally, because this is the internet we're talking about here, it raised a shitstorm. Now, the list of common gripes for NSO goes on for a mile, and despite the popularity, Nintendo hasn't really ever addressed any of these gripes. The online is bad, they're basically making us pay for something that was free on the Wii U, there's no EarthBound, please for the love of God, just give me EarthBound. But the common response to this throughout the years has always seemingly been, it's only $20 a year, plus ratio. And the argument from Nintendo fanboys like me was always, it'll fill out, we'll get more games, it'll be worthwhile eventually. Flash to the Nintendo Direct in September, I got my wish. The roster was filling out, we were getting more games, and I was delighted. But Nintendo, somewhere in their infinite wisdom, thought that $50 was a good number to rent a DLC expansion and get like 20 retro games. And with that announcement, for a brief moment, we had unity. Everyone seemed to agree that Nintendo had overstepped their boundaries on the pricing here. However, like most things on the internet, this did not last. When the expansion pack finally released, everyone that I'd seen complaining about the price was suddenly posting screenshots of Mario Kart 64 from their Switch alongside their fancy new modern N64 controllers. But then people started complaining about the quality of the emulator Nintendo provided, and everything became this dick measuring contest. Imagine paying for old games that are emulated worse than what I could do on my PC. Piracy is always okay for Nintendo. Oh, well, I paid for the Switch Online expansion pack, and for some reason everyone's crying about it and trying to make me feel bad about it, you dirty pirates. In fact, I'll buy another membership just to spite you guys. If it's not obvious, both of these mindsets are not only toxic, but wholly unproductive, and I don't understand why every internet argument becomes this us versus them mentality. Anyways, as a certified Nintendo fanboy, I am not going to be upgrading to the NSO expansion pack anytime soon. I'm poor, can't really afford it right now, that's just the facts. But that doesn't mean that I can't propose a solution to fixing the quality of the product that we have right now. And to help sort out my thoughts, I have organized everything into an internet-friendly numbered list. Number 1, remove the DLC. One of the things that was curiously announced in the Nintendo Switch expansion pass was the Happy Home Paradise expansion pack for Animal Crossing New Horizons. This was included, and I quote, at no extra cost. This means one of two things. Either they thought that 9 N64 games and 14 Sega Genesis games was worth an extra $30 a year, or it was included at an extra cost, and this was a lie. Either way, the DLC being included is a questionable decision. It's been confirmed that if you lose your expansion pack subscription, you will lose access to the Animal Crossing DLC as well. So this just opens up two timelines. Either you buy the DLC on its own so you don't lose access to it if/when you stop being an NSO subscriber, or you don't. But if you can't pay your subscription, or hypothetically, in a couple of years, let's say the Switch Online membership is no longer a current service and you decide to boot up New Horizons, and you have to buy the expansion on its own anyways. There is literally no winning here. And let's say that down the line they start including more expansions for other games as a way of inflating NSO's value. Well then the same argument that I just mentioned still applies. Just like with Animal Crossing, if they released Mario Kart DLC or Smash DLC or anything really and added it to NSO's expansion pass, not every fan is gonna want that DLC or is even guaranteed to own those games to begin with. It just seems like a completely flawed system. Do a PlayStation Plus style bundle instead and get some new exclusive Splatoon clothes or a Smash Bros. Mii costume or even a Fortnite outfit exclusive to your service. Or if you want to go full value, which I know Nintendo won't, your pricing is dangerously close to something like an Xbox Live Gold or a PS Plus membership anyways. Start giving out your lower tier games for free alongside the retro stuff. It makes far more sense to do something like this than an expansion for another game. If you wanted some ideas for games that I could reasonably see Nintendo adding in some kind of Xbox Live-esque service, here are a bunch of games that I think Nintendo won't be losing too much sleep over giving away for free. And this isn't even including third parties. But keep in mind, this is Nintendo we're talking about, so who knows. Number 2, release EarthBound. Seriously, this is me getting on my soapbox here, but imagine you're Nintendo. We are in a renaissance of quirky, out-of-the-box RPGs, and you have the grandpappy of the genre. The one that every single person says they are inspired by. Why haven't you released it on Switch? That's a selling point on its own. Buy Deltarune Chapter 2, and subscribe to NSO and see where the genre got to start. It's a no-brainer. On that note, number 3, add more games. Now this might also be considered a no-brainer to some, but Nintendo has a wealth of games and a wealth of consoles. So maybe N64 emulation is still difficult for Nintendo. Maybe N64 games are inherently more valuable to Nintendo, but what about the Game Boy? The Game Boy Advance, the Virtual Boy. There are so many games that, even if they don't hold up all that great, could be of amazing utility on the Switch. The whole gimmick is gaming on the go. You don't think that the first portable console you ever had with the first portable games ever on a portable device is nostalgic enough? And in the name of stuff like the Virtual Boy, most of these games lived and died on the Virtual Boy. Including the Virtual Boy as part of NSO not only serves to diversify the lineup, but also add a neat piece of gaming history on there too. I mean, obviously as a 2000s kid, I want to see GameCube stuff, but I don't even think that you need to add it. But when there are so many glaring holes in the libraries you do have, and you only have 4 libraries, one of which has been ported to every console known to mankind, including the Switch already, I don't see why this is the best you can do. Number 4, add a roadmap. If I have learned anything from my investment in Marvel's Avengers, it's that having a roadmap is a great way to keep players invested in everything. I don't need hard dates from you, Nintendo, but a tease of Banjo-Kazooie isn't enough to get me to spend money on this, especially when I already have Banjo on... Oh yeah, Xbox Game Pass, and this one's in 4K! Say that every month you will add 3 N64 games, and you have me. Even if you don't tell me what they are, just knowing how many and when, and that'll be consistently updated, is really all I need. But with the quite literal drip feeding of the NES and SNES games, I'm not trusting in your service to deliver me these games in a timely manner. Games that, need I remind you, I could just go play on my Wii if I wanted to. Seriously, a lot of these games are already on the Wii or Wii U. Why isn't like every game from the Wii U Virtual Console on the Switch? We already know that they have very similar hardware, or at least similar enough hardware for every worthwhile Wii U game to have already been ported to the Switch, except for fucking EarthBound! Give us just a little bit of assurance that we will still be wanting to pay that $50 in a couple months. And lastly, and probably most outrageously, number 5. Just make Nintendo Game Pass already? Nintendo has something that not many other companies in the gaming space have right now, and that is a consistent lineup of colorful characters who are all considered iconic in their own right and Nintendo classics. I mean, just look at the first-party characters in the Smash lineup. Crossovers are corporate gold right now, and everyone knows it. Look at how many Warner Bros. Mega Multiverse crossover products have come out in the past couple years. Or, if you'd rather, the recent success / subsequent immediate burnout of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Nintendo knows this and has been doing it since the N64 with Super Smash Bros. And with Smash Ultimate likely being the be-all end-all of all these video game mega crossovers, just give us Nintendo Game Pass so we can experience all of these Nintendo classics. Nintendo is probably the only gaming company that could release its entire back catalog individually, and some poor sap, probably Scott the Woz, would pay for all of it individually all over again. But if they did some kind of Game Pass approach with older consoles, imagine the goodwill they could get from their customers. I'm not even asking for like a lot here, but we know that they can. Between Super Mario 3D All-Stars, they have proven that they can successfully emulate N64 games, GameCube and Wii games in widescreen, and translate the Wii game's motion controls to the Joy-Con pretty successfully. And not every Wii game would even need that treatment. Is this asking for too much? Maybe. But when you're Nintendo with probably the most ravenous for legacy content fans you can get, is there such a thing as asking for too much to consume your product? And if you're ravenous for my content, then why don't you subscribe to RVRocks and ring the bell, like this video, and comment your thoughts on Nintendo Switch Online. The internet has become a little bit too hostile to discuss this stuff for my comfort, so comment your thoughts in the comment section of a small YouTuber because you will likely be one of the only people to do so here and can't be judged. Or if it suits your fancy, you could always let me know your thoughts over on my Twitter at RVRocks. But before you do any of that, I have been RVRocks, and thank you so much for watching. See ya!